Welcome to ADD Sports. I'm Danny.
I'm Alex.
I'm Day.
And I'm Skip.
We have a guest star, Skip, on for this segment. So on this segment, we're going to be discussing a little bit about the NIL rules in college football. I'm going to sort of give a little bit of the background on why we wanted to do this topic this week. There's been some rumbling, especially in the Southeastern Conference, with Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin calling out other members in the SEC. Most of their shots were directed at Jimbo Fisher, who then came and fired back and said that's completely unrealistic. People want to come to Texas A&M because it's such a great school and we're not paying players and all this stuff. So it's turned into this big back and forth on National Recruiting Day, which was last Wednesday. Day, what's your take on NIL? Should players be getting paid, or is this kind of ruining the sport?
I mean, it's not like they're directly paying them. They're getting paid for name, image, and likeness. I mean, they should be allowed to profit off their own name. The school doesn't own the rights to their name. I think, first of all, they should give Reggie Bush his Heisman back now that they're putting these rules in, for one, since, it was the biggest deal in the world that he took money for autographs, which, I mean, they should be allowed to do that. I think the school doesn't have to directly pay them. They don't have to have any involvement. Sure, they can, point fingers and say they're making these under-the-table offers, that they're going to get extra endorsements by government of the school and stuff, but, I mean, any of the schools can do that. Any of the top names. Not like Nick Saban can't go and do the same thing at Alabama. I mean, for years it's been, come here and you'll win a championship, as if that wasn't enough of a, little consolation to join Bama. So, no, I think the players should absolutely be allowed to make money off their own names. What about you, Alex?
Well, I'm not going to argue with if they should get paid or not. I just looked up the top 4 interesting deals that these players have signed. I will start with my third. Will Ulmer from Marshall Football. He's a talented football player, and off the field he's a musician, which before the NIL wasn't in effect, he was going by the name Lucky Bill because he couldn't make his profit off his real name because of not being able to get paid for it, which I thought that was pretty interesting. Another one I found was the Virginia Tech lineman and Mission Barbecue. Mission Barbecue provides the entire offensive line with weekly dinners at the restaurant, which that's pretty interesting too.
Barbecue.
Free barbecue for the entire offensive line.
Maybe James can get those crab leg charges dropped too while they're at it.
The second one was the BYU Built Bar. Bill is taking care of all walk-ons' tuitions and offering a brand ambassador to every player on the team, which allows them to earn $1,000 in cash. And the last one was Florida Atlantic's quarterback, N'Kosi Perry. He became the first player to sign a deal with an alcohol company. How ironic, you want to play football and then you're drinking beer, but that's all the college way. And it's with Isla Morada beer, which has strong ties to FAU.
That's very interesting stuff, Alex. I wish I had an alcohol. Day here could use an alcohol sponsorship for sure. But so my take on the NIL is that it is setting a dangerous precedent for college football. The reasons for that are kids are sort of coming out of high school now who kind of lack the mental maturity to handle money. And they're sort of given. I feel like when you're given everything at a young age, it sort of creates a lot of difficulties and adversities for the rest of your life when you're just sort of handed stuff on a silver platter. And big universities are definitely going to get richer and sort of abuse their power, especially with the ability to offer the best on NIL deals and through the transfer portal. the transfer portal is now becoming more and more prevalent with kids. They'll be at a school 1 year. You look at the running back from Georgia Tech, who was an all ACC running back, who's now transferring to Alabama. LSU also had a prominent defensive back who is transferring over to Alabama. Have one good year, all SEC, and then wants to go straight to Alabama for the bigger NIL deal. Another reason against is college football folklore, such as the movie Rudy, where a guy had to really earn his stripes, work hard for 4 years, and then he finally got a chance to dress for the team and be a part of the team. That's sort of out the window with the amount of transfers that are now going to come in and just plug holes for the bigger teams. It also creates internal rivalries between teammates. For the most part, skill positions and quarterbacks are going to be the guys who are signing the big NIL deals, and you're going to have the offensive linemen signing for a free barbecue dinner weekly. And so I think that just the monetary differences between skill position players and other players are going to create some jealousy and rivalries. And I think another thing that's interesting to bring up is that I think when trying to get these NIL deals, players are going to kind of have their own interests in mind. They're going to want a certain amount of touches, a certain amount of air time. They might do some crazy things in interviews to try to get their own brand and image up. And I think that that's not necessarily a positive thing through the sport. And I think that there could be some. Right now, it's not very regulated in terms of the NIL deals. A lot of the universities are supposed to be regulating it, but let's say someone does like a NIL deal with like a vaping company or like a big tobacco or something. I think it creates some ethical dilemmas, and it also creates if you're giving Bryce Young $1 million, then what if he goes out and starts buying 5 new cars and he forgets that he has to pay taxes on that money? So that's sort of another thing to consider. Mm-hmm. So that's my take on it. I guess Skip, what's your opinion?
Pay him. What are we doing otherwise? I mean, these kids, they, as Day said, they work hard. They go out there. They put it all on the field. Some of them, their career could end at any moment. They're sacrificing their body. In most cases, there's not a whole lot of brains to go along with it. They're sacrificing their body, and whether it's a meal once a week or $1 million contract, they're putting themselves on the line. And at the end of the day, they're used to kind of those interpersonal hierarchies. Offensive linemen know they don't get the glory that the running back gets, but Jonathan Taylor, just saw a video of him doing it. All the greats. Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, all these guys, what do they do in the offseason? They go buy their guys Rolexes. They buy them whatever. They take care of them. They scratch their back because they know that they have their back on the field. And one thing that's interesting, too, is the points that Alex brought up. When you've got these guys going out and getting unique contracts, what's dangerous about this is the alcohol, the big tobacco, those prospects. That's where you start to teeter on the verge of you're promoting things that, you have underclassmen, young kids looking at, somebody from my hometown is going to Texas A&M or FAU, and now they're promoting drinking. You're starting to walk that dangerous line. And so I do think there needs to be some regulation with where you can go with it. But from the perspective of these players, if I was at that level, how do you not, this is where the sport's going. It's interesting to hear these deals. You go to Texas, you can go get barbecue promotions. You go Nashville, whatever's in Nashville, you can go, do whatever's there. There's probably barbecue there too. You go to Florida, there's beaches, there's hotels, there's resorts. You can go promote that. Casinos. There's a rabbit hole of regional delicacies and cultural things that are at play here. My one issue overall with it is the transfer portal. I think unless a legal grievance can be made based on sexual harassment or cruelty of some kind or a disciplinary issue, players shouldn't be able to just float in and out of colleges. Universities go in and out. An ACC player that has a good season this isn't AAA and then he comes up to the big leagues. We all know that SEC is the greatest conference in the history of football. That doesn't mean you can just be transient with it. If you got into a school there and you're great there, I mean, you don't have to go to an SEC school to get drafted. If you've got the talent, you'll get drafted, or you can work your way onto a roster. But this transfer portal, is what's causing the NIL to be very dangerous. Where you've got guys just being loyal to a dollar at that point. They need to be loyal to themselves, work hard, and get paid for their labor and what they're doing, not just move around and be loyal to, money wherever it pops up.
Yeah, and an interesting thing to bring up was that on the early National Signing Day, the number 1 overall recruit, who was a cornerback from somewhere in Georgia,
Jackson State.
I forget his name, but he was expected to go to Florida State. He, when he's making his announcement, he says, give me the hat. Someone throws him a Florida State hat. He pretends to put it on and throws it the other way and unbuttons his shirt. And he's going to Jackson State, which is a very small. I think they.
Well, and why is he going there?
Deion Sanders.
It's an NIL deal, actually. He's getting, I believe it's Barstool Sports is giving him reportedly like Deion has denied it, but there are reports that it's like $1.5 million.
Right. And I would wager and say that Dave mentioned it. My opinion on why he's going there, it could be an NIL deal, and that's probably good too. But if I'm a player at that level and I see Deion Sanders at that kid who's I think wide receiver and safety, right, position wise, if I see Deion Sanders is recruiting me, and I can go learn from one of the greatest to ever play my position.
And they're in the national spotlight just because Deion Sanders just coached them to a championship.
And they have a top 5, I think D lineman also committed later that week.
They had a corner, because they had a receiver because the guy who committed was a corner, and then they had another top 50 player commit because then I'm sure Deion was like, well, you guys will go at it in practice and both go to the NFL.
Right. My deal breaker is I want another NCAA video game. So I think the NIL deal is opening the door for that, and it's been almost 10 years, so keep it going. I want to play NCAA 23 or 24, whatever year they come out with it. And then look, every player in all of college football can get money out of that.
Yep.
Another interesting, I forgot to bring this up in my take, another interesting point is that I feel like this has definitely the potential in NIL to embolden some of these crazy boosters. I think we saw it with Miami where they had that guy named Shapiro or whatever his name was, who was snorting coke with all these players and doing all this stuff, and he was this creepy dude who was supposed to have a lot of money. He ended up being a fraudster. I think he was on American Greed in a couple years, but some of these crazy donors. I know Matthew McConaughey is crazy for Texas. I know he's not a weird guy, but you'll get some of these donors who just. They want the recruit to come to their house every Thursday and wash their car. I could see some weird things going on, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. You guys made some valid points, and I think there's certainly a controversy here as to how to regulate it and
regulate the transfer portal. I think that'll solve some issues.
What's right moving forward? Yeah.
I mean, it could be if you transfer out of conference, you have to sit a year, but in conference transfers will be all right. Keep guys from jumping from the ACC to the SEC.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The school's signing off on it to a higher degree than they currently do. But it's there's a lot of play. It definitely needs to have a lot of attention paid to it.
Yeah. So that'll wrap up this segment of ADD Sports. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share our channel. We'll catch you on the next segment. We hope you guys have a good night.
Like and subscribe.